Welcome back, YouTube. This is James here from Tech Talks with James. Today we have another question from the Blind 75 Challenge, and we actually made it to the end of one topic. This is the last question that we have that deals with arrays, so pat yourself on the back if you made it this far. Let's go through the question. This one is called Container with the Most Water, and it asks us, you are given an integer array height of length n, and there are n vertical lines drawn such that the two endpoints of the ith line are I and 0, and then I and the height at I. Find two lines that together with the x-axis form a container such that the container contains the most water. Return the maximum amount of water that a container can store. Notice you may not slant a container. And they give us a pretty picture to explain that, which is super helpful. So example 1, we have the input of height array and the answer is 49. The explanation says the above vertical lines are represented by the array. In this case, the max area of water, the blue section in the picture, is the container that can contain 49 units of water. So what it looks like, we have 7 on the x-axis and then 7 on the y-axis, and we're just timesing them by each other to get our full container of water. And then example 2 gives us similar data. It gives us an array with 1 and 1, and of course that means that we can only store 1 unit of water. Okay, so 2 ways we can solve this problem. The first one, of course, we can have a big O of n squared algorithm where we just set up a doubly nested for loop with a max total value, and we just check every single integer against every single integer and see what the max gives us. Because this is going to be super slow, so we want to try and avoid that. Let's just show what that looks like in code. So we'll just do int max equals 0, and we'll just do for int I equals 0, while I is less than height dot length, and then we'll just increment I every time we pass through. And then we'll do another for loop, int j equals I plus 1, and we'll loop while j is less than height dot length, and we'll increment j every time. And from there, we'll just want to work out what the minimum height of both the values at pointer I and j is. We'll just do container height equals math.min, and we'll look at height at I and height at j. And what that basically does is just compare height at I and height at j and give us the minimum value. And of course, the reason for that is that if we take the higher of the two values, of course, the water would spill out of that container. So next, we just want to have an int showing the container length. And we're going to set that equal to j minus I. And then finally, we're just going to reevaluate max. So we're going to take the maximum out of the current max, or container height times by container length. And that should give us the maximum once we've broken out of both for loops. So we're just going to return the max. And let's run that code and see what happens. And another spelling error here. That needs to be height. We'll run it again. And we can see the answer's been accepted. But of course, this is not a suitable answer because it's super slow. We're running a for loop every time we pass through the main for loop, and that gives us an algorithm of big O of n squared. So let's think about how we can reduce this. Well, if we remember from yesterday with the threesome problem, we were kind of doing something similar to what we actually want to do. We were setting up 2 pointers, one at the beginning and one at the end, and we were just simply moving towards the center. So if we think about it from our example 1, we take the height of index of 0, which is 1, and then the height of the last index, which is a 7, and we take the minimum value from both of those, which is going to be 1, and then we multiply that by the length of the 2 indexes, which gives us 8. If we have our 2 pointers on either end, we know that we now have to find a container that is going to hold more than 8 units of water. And then if we find that we don't have one that's going to be more than that, we can simply just increment or decrement the pointers to move on to the next one. Let's take a look at the algorithm and hopefully it paints a better picture. Alright, so let's start by just setting our max equal to 0. We're going to set our starting pointer equal to 0 also. And then we just want to set our end pointer equal to height dot length -1. Next, let's just set up our while loop, and we're just going to loop while start is still less than end. And next we want to set up our height of the container, our length of the container, and then multiply them together to get the window area. And from there, we'll just take the max of the current max or the window area. So we'll do int container height equals math.min, and we'll take the height of start or the height of end. Then we'll do int container length equal to end negative start. And then let's work out the window area. We're going to do container height multiplied by container length. And then we'll just reevaluate that max. We'll do math.max, and we'll take either the max or the window area. Okay, so next we want to just manipulate our pointers. So we'll just do while start is still less than end, and height add start is less than or equal to container height. And if it is, we'll just increment start. And then we'll have another while loop, and we'll just check if start is still less than end, and we'll check if height at end is less than or equal to container height, and if it is, then we'll just decrement end. So that's going to move both of our pointers in the correct direction to be getting closer to the center every single time. And then finally, when we've reached outside of this main while loop, we'll just return the max. Let's run that and see what it gives us. All right, just a minor spelling error as per usual. So this needs to be length. Let's run it again. Okay, great. So this one's not so tricky if you've already worked the previous questions, but still it's something to remember and think about. This is really common where we need to set up 2 pointers and manipulate them in some way to find some kind of window. So be sure to study this algorithm, get comfortable with it, rewatch the videos as many times as you need to. And of course, if you like the videos, go ahead and click that like button, and please subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you tomorrow for another question. We're starting a new topic tomorrow. We're going to be looking at binary, so stick around, and I'll see you in the next video.